Hi friends, Simon here from InformedTrades.com. In this video, we'll do a review of AvaTrade, a forex and CFD broker. Let's get started. Okay, in terms of the key points about AvaTrade, biggest point probably is that they have a lot of instruments. That's maybe their, in my opinion at least, their largest point of differentiation. Another thing is account bonuses. That's another way to differentiate themselves, giving customers who open up an account account bonus that you can use to trade with. They are a B-book broker. We'll get into what that means in a little bit. In terms of the platforms they offer, they have their own custom platform, the AvaTrader, as well as the MT4 industry standard platform. And then we'll talk a little bit about their customer service and the education offerings that they have. Okay, so lots of instruments. For traders who really want a wide variety of instruments to trade, I think AvaTrade is something that should be considered. That's their main thing. So they offer major forex pairs, minor forex pairs, options, currency options, CFDs. Now the rest of the instruments listed here are actually CFDs, so you're not taking ownership. If you're not familiar with what a CFD is, we have a lot of information on this on Informed Trades, but it's basically a way to speculate on the price without actually owning it. So they have CFDs for ETFs, global stock indices, government bonds, especially U.S. Treasury bonds, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Litecoin also, energy CFDs, numerous oil contracts, precious metals, gold, silver, platinum, palladium, agricultural CFDs, wheat, things like that, and individual CFD shares, so widely traded stocks, Apple, BP, from stock exchanges around the world. If the stock is heavily traded, you'll be able to trade the CFD of it through AvaTrade. And if you're an active trader, there really isn't much of a difference between a CFD and a regular stock. I actually think for pure speculators, a CFD is better. Again, we have a lot of information on this on Informed Trades. Their spreads are pretty good. Whenever you have a broker that offers a lot of instruments like this, you do definitely want to take a look at the spread and the execution. In my experience, the execution is adequate. It's pretty good. Of course, I'm coming at it from the perspective of a person who's trading off the daily chart, not the hourly chart, not the 4-hour chart. So my requirements for execution are considerably less than a person who's trading on a very short time frame. When you're trading on a really short time frame, that's where execution is really, really important. 1.8 pips approximate spread on Euro US dollar. There definitely are some brokers out there that have tighter spreads. I think that's fine. In my experience, I did trade back in 2011. I opened a very small account with a few $100 and took on a leveraged position in U.S. Treasury bonds, and I traded that a little bit. That didn't work out too well. That was my own trading errors, though. I definitely cannot blame Ava. Their technology worked fine. I found the spreads pretty adequate. So in my experience, trading with them was okay. But again, their main offering is that, and what led me to open an account with them, is that I could trade CFDs of government bonds. And likewise, that's their big thing. They have a wide variety of contracts. Okay, account opening bonuses. Now, the way these bonuses work, and you can see the chart here. If you deposit $250, you get a $125 bonus. That is not money that you can withdraw, but it is money you can trade with. So you can, the way I sort of look at it is it's almost like an insurance of sorts. If you deposit $250 and you will get a bonus of $125. So that means that, let's say you put on a few trades and you lost $125, you would actually still be able to withdraw your full $250. So you have $125 of trades that you could lose. You could lose up to $125, and Ava will give that to you basically. You cannot actually withdraw that $125 though. So if you put in $250, you won't be able to withdraw $375. But it does give you a little bit of extra room, a little bit of extra margin to trade with, and you can take a bit more of a loss and you won't actually pay for it. So this is something that they use. It's a pretty effective marketing tactic to get new traders in. It's pretty interesting in that regard. But I don't think a lot of traders, the appeal of this, or it has a tendency to draw in a lot of traders who really are focused too much on the bonus. I do think traders should consider all the other elements too. Execution is much more important. The customer service, all those other things are much more important than the bonus. The bonus is nice, but it shouldn't be a defining feature. So that's something to consider, and I do think they differentiate themselves. They do offer bigger bonuses than most other brokers out there. Okay, they're a B-book broker. Now, most brokers, and definitely those that offer a wide variety of instruments, are going to be B-book brokers. And this chart illustrates what exactly that is. A B-book broker is one that is essentially trading against the client or is managing their own book, meaning the counterparty to your trade is Ava, and they might not be offsetting that trade in the larger market with prime brokers. Instead, what they're doing is they're matching it up internally with their own. So if you buy Euro, US dollar, if you buy S&P 500 and someone else is selling S&P 500, they can match that up internally. In other instances, they may be taking the other position against their traders. So the more a broker is offering a wide variety of instruments, especially those that are thinly traded, cryptocurrencies is a classic example, the more likely, the larger their B book is. So Ava, I don't know for sure what the stats are, but they've probably got a reasonably sized B book in light of all the instruments they offer. I think that's a safe conclusion. And most forex brokers are maintaining some B book. It's a question of how big it is. I think Ava is pretty larger in light of, like I mentioned, the number of instruments they offer. I don't necessarily think this is bad, but I do think it's something to consider. If the broker is managing it responsibly, I don't think it's a really big problem. And from what I can gather, based on their execution, their financial stability, they are a well-capitalized company. I think they're okay. I feel reasonably okay with them as a B-book broker. But I do think, like I mentioned, that's something that traders should be aware of. Okay, their platforms. They offer this industry standard MT4. I really dislike MT4. I think if you're using the plugins, the systems, the EAs, the expert advisors on MT4, then that's of interest because they have a huge community there. So it's a bit of a lock-in. Personally, when I was trading with Ava, I used the AvaTrader platform. It's not the best designed piece of software. It's kind of ugly, and the UI is not 100% intuitive, or it's not super crystal clear, but it's pretty good. I mean, it accomplishes, it's decent enough, and a lot of these interfaces are pretty reasonable, or there's not too much difference between, even though they're proprietary interfaces, they're not that different. They're going to have some quotes, they're going to have some charts, you're going to be able to see your open positions, so it's not that different. For me, the main thing was it was easy to work on a Windows platform. It worked on a mobile device. I have an Android phone as my primary mobile device, and it worked fine on both of those. It wasn't very buggy. Generally speaking, I think maybe once or twice I had some issues with logging in, but overall the rates were updating, the trades were accepted, and it worked. So I found it to be acceptable in that regard. And I don't like MT4, so that's the one thing I personally just cannot stand. So the fact that they had their own custom platform that was kind of ugly and not super well designed, but it was good enough in my opinion. So I found that to be acceptable. Okay, premium education. I did not sample this, or I've looked around a little bit. I did not take too deep of a look at it. But they've got a hush trade, and you can see that here in the URL. Here's a screenshot, which is led by two real traders, Jimmy Young and Erkut Ozer. I might be mispronouncing his name right there. I apologize for that. They're pro education here in Hush Trade. Now they have a bunch of free stuff, and the Hush Trade is you have to have an account, and then you can get access to it. It's pretty good. I do think FXCM's offering is much better, but that's not. I think they're both pretty good. I think Hush Trade's pretty good. It's definitely better than a lot of other. All these brokers out there offering their own education. It's definitely one of the basis of competition in the forex industry. I think Hush Trade is better than most. I think Daily FX Premium is still better than Hush Trade. I think you get a lot more information. You get some proprietary indicators that are really leveraging FXCM's customer base. Hush Trade, though, has some legit information, some deeper technical analysis, deeper sentiment analysis that I think is pretty interesting, and a lot of traders will benefit from. It's actually real info. The free stuff they offer, like a lot of the free stuff out on the web, is not that compelling. Of course, for education, I do think, these services might be good, especially if you have an account with Ava already. Might as well take a look at Hush Trade. For education, though, I think you're better really to look at someone that's not aligned with a broker, or that is a bit really is the organization itself is wholly focused on education. Like Informed Trades, obviously I'm biased, but there's a bunch of other educational companies that are really focused on education. The brokers are just sort of using education to get you to trade, and they're not 100% focused on education. So this is a pretty good offering, but with education, I do think that's, you may want to look at non-broker offerings as well. AvaTrade, though, overall, I think it's pretty good product from what I've seen. Customer service. Now, this was definitely the biggest weakness that I saw with AvaTrade, and my number one reservation with them. I just did not find the customer service very good, especially, and I'm speaking in English, and that's, if you're speaking a different language, I think I'd be even more concerned. But the employees just don't know. They're just not knowledgeable enough. So, and I think this is, if you're an experienced trader, this is probably something you've encountered with a number of brokerage companies where the employee, you might have an issue and just the person on the other end just doesn't know enough about trading, about technology, about anything. And then it's frustrating and then your problem doesn't get solved. So that was my biggest concern. I've interacted with their customer service reps a number of times on a number of issues. They're a little, generally they were there, which is, I've had some brokers that they're not even present, so that's a huge red flag. But with Ava, you will be able to get through to someone on phone, on chat, on email. That's reassuring. The answer they give you might not be that useful, though. So I found it to be a little frustrating on numerous issues, on getting my money out, on small technical problems I had with their platform, questions on how does this work, anything. And the numerous times I contacted them, it was always a bit like pulling teeth. But like I mentioned, the execution was pretty legit. The platform worked. So if you're really comfortable with self-service, then this might be acceptable. But of course, just there's always going to be some issue with trading, and so much of this is a trust business. So this was one area where I really felt that the company could improve on, and it actually personally left me a little uncomfortable. I know the company is well capitalized and has a lot of positive things for them, but when the customer service is really lacking, it's hard to trust them, in my opinion, with a considerable amount. The more capital you want from your customers, at least from my perspective, the better the service has to be. And that's about it. That's sort of my take on Ava. Overall, I think they have some pretty interesting things. The biggest thing, I think, or the take-home point for me, is that if you're looking to trade, a lot of different instruments, and if you're looking for a broker that can offer CFDs and some really exotic things, FX options, heavily traded shares across the world, global indices, especially cryptocurrencies as well, government bonds. If you want to do all of that, you want to do it as an active trader, Ava, I think that's where they really excel. Like I mentioned, the customer service is a bit of a, that was the biggest red flag for me. The education is decent. The platforms are okay. None of that really stands out. But the two biggest things on the positive side is the breadth of instruments that they offer, and the one point of caution is the customer service. I would definitely think that, I don't know if that's a deal breaker, but I would encourage people to test it out themselves and make sure that they're comfortable with it and they know how to deal with it. That's about it. Any questions you have, anything you want to add, join us at informedtrades.com. Take care.